This week on the podcast, we're dreaming big and discussing what games deserve a sequel but will never happen. We also wax lyrical about Oblivion Remastered and share our verdict on Indiana Jones on PS5. And on the Pixel Picks Showdown, we crown the best sequel game. All this and more on the Pixel Parents podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I am your host, Liam Kelvin, and today I am, of course, joined by the bearded one, Scott, the tastemaker. Curry, how are we, Scott?
I always love it. I'm fine. You know, I was explaining to you just before we came on that my daughter is fighting sleep every single evening, so it is a fucking nightmare. And we're all tired because of it. And I've realised that in my 33 years on this earth that I now can't stay up past 2 a.m. because WrestleMania, I'm still tired from Saturday night. Like, still absolutely fucked from it. So it's outrageous. But apart from all that, I'm pretty good. I'm excited to get in to talk about this because sequels are my favourite. I love a happy ending, but I also love the next step on that journey. And I'm excited to talk about what that means for all things video games.
Yeah.
But how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Same as you. WrestleMania this weekend. You know, it was a lovely Easter weekend. Lots of chocolate. Lots of fine foods. I made macaroni cheese for the one and only time this year. But WrestleMania, Saturday night, tapped out fairly quickly, probably around about the 1 o'clock mark with the Jacob Fatu match. Thought I'll catch up on it in the morning. And on Sunday, I made it all the way to the end. God knows how. But something wonderful happened along the way. And I somehow managed to get my wife into wrestling through WrestleMania. She just got sucked up in all the hype. So, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with the absolute Adonises on display. But it was a wonderful thing. So we just kind of watched WrestleMania night 1 as a family, and then I rewatched night 2, most of it, as a family the next day, which was great. So it was just like a proper wrestling weekend that we had. And like I said, probably a diabetic inducing amount of chocolate, if not there already, which was great. You know, I've got one more egg next to me just now, and I'm like, you're mine. Do you know what type it is though? Cadbury's Fingers, which I'm like, that is a 10 out of 10 old that egg. You know what I mean? Like Cadbury's
Fingers egg?
Honestly. A biscuit as well as the egg itself. I'm like, I'm all game for this. Yeah, let's do it. Announced the Jammy Dodger egg. But yeah, it's been a busy, exciting week of video games. It doesn't seem to be letting up. Before I get into it, before I do the housekeeping though, right? And I've got a bone to pick with WrestleMania, because we might as well touch on it whilst we're here, because I'm sure our other listeners will be watching it as well, right? But I hate to say it, but John Cena is a terrible heel. I had such high hopes for him, and I know he's still got a ways to go, and I know that's probably the point of the character, which is I'm just not going to give you what you want. But I'm like, man, just can you at least put half your ass into it? It's just coming across as not even pouty, because Drew McIntyre does that so well. Like the kind of woe is me character. He's got that down to a fine art, and we're along for the ride. But there's something so flat. And then also during the main event, you're still cheering on Cena. And it's like, this isn't the Attitude Era. Like, we're not there to kind of have these anti-heroes. It's like he's trying to act and do something and pitch this heel turn in a certain way. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's clicking. But it won't be for long because he'll be out the picture soon. So, ho hum.
27 dates. 27 dates, he was saying on Raw. I don't really know what to think about it, to be honest with you. I enjoy having him there, and I enjoy the nonsense of it all. Like, I liked it when he was coming out and basically just like abusing all the fans and that wee guy that was in the crowd. That was, top 10 moments of 2025 for me. But I think that it's it's how he moves forward with this.
Yeah.
Because with Cody, this is the whole point of like he stripped himself right back, so he's not the same as Cody, and he's trying to prove a point to Cody Rhodes about that. But now, from what it seems like, they're going ahead with the whole Randy John Cena thing. So I hope he just becomes like, I hope he sticks. I actually hope he sticks the way he is and just continues being a wee arsehole.
Yeah.
Like, the fans are naturally going to gravitate towards people that are like that because that's what we all do. It's like we all loved the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
We all loved Dr. Octopus. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all love the bad guys. But it's just going to be interesting to see how it pans out because there's no way at the end of these 27 dates that he's going to still be the same way he is now. There's going to be a glorious turn in the middle of it, and it's going to involve, Seth Rollins' new group, the new Evolution. So, fuck knows. I don't know. I really want to become a wrestling podcast now because I think that there's a void there to be filled by the other millions of wrestling podcasts that exist. However, we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
That can be a Patreon exclusive,
Oh god, this is your heel turn with the Patreon. Pixel Pinfall's coming soon. Yeah.
Oh, he's named it already. He's thought about it.
So you can't turn this off. You can't turn this off. But yeah, let's get back to the matter at hand, I suppose, which is, of course, video games. So let's get some housekeeping out the road because there's lots to talk about. So, of course, for those listening, this is the Pixel Parents Podcast, a weekly podcast by parents who game for those who do the same, where each week we discuss all things gaming while raising little ones. If you want to be part of the podcast, come say hello and share your thoughts with us at pixelparents.bsky.social on Blue Sky, or write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear and you want to support the show, you can, of course, leave a 5-star review and share this podcast online with your friends. That really does help us out. And, of course, thank you to everybody that joins us each and every week. So with that out the way, Scott, what have you been playing this week?
It's been a hell of a week, Liam. It's been one hell of a week. So I've managed to get 100% of the way through Grand Theft Auto, so let's just get that out the road.
Lovely.
Grand Theft Auto 5 has been 100%ed. I've not got the Platinum Trophy on it because the multiplayer trophies are a bit of a pain in the arse, but I reckon that'll be something that we can knock out in some downtime later on down the line. There's time there to do that, and I will need your help with that. So that's sort of there. And then once I finished that, it was very much what do we move on to now? Like what actually should I play? So
yeah, I've
obviously got Assassin's Creed Shadows there. So I was like, do you know what? I'll stick it on. I'll play through that.
Yes.
I played through the initial opening with Yasuke, and I've obviously now moved on with Nawi and running about wherever I am, collecting towers in areas that I 100% should not be, and restarting checkpoints after every single time I get caught because fuck that, fuck fighting anyone with her. But okay, I was just like, there's a game there that I will enjoy. This isn't me saying, it's pish and I'm never playing it again. This is just me saying I just can't be arsed with a game like that at this very moment, right? So I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to force myself to play this. I'm taking the advice from Greg Miller last week and saying, like, don't force yourself to play games that you don't want to play. So then I was like, right, what next? Looking down my PlayStation library, and I have games upon games upon games upon games upon fucking games to play, and none of them are games that I actually want to play. So I was like, oh, here we go. This is where it all starts. So I turned on my Xbox because we all know 2025 is the year of the box.
That's right.
And the year of the log. So I was looking at the games that were on there, and I've got obviously a few things that I want to play, but I was like, do you know what? I'll play Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. And I did the same thing I do every single time I play that game. I finished the first level and I'm like, right, I've had my fill with this now. I'm happy with what I've played. I'll go back to it. I will go back to it, but it's phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? Like it's still as good as the first day that I played it. And Team Ninja certainly know how to make big, voluptuous ladies on that. So I mean, if you're into something like that, then that's exactly what you're looking for. And then I was just like, I don't actually know what I want to do here. This is we've spoken about this quite a lot in the past, and that sometimes there's too many things to play, and that you can't entirely focus on one thing. And I was just like, I just want something that I can switch my brain off and not think about. So I thought, what game is that? So I actually started South of Midnight, right?
Oh, right, okay.
Which wasn't the right choice. I played through the opening of it, and I got to my first combat encounter. I did that first fight, and I was like, yeah, I don't enjoy the combat in this. The traversal and stuff, sure. But there's a handy wee part in South of Midnight. There's a wee option in it. You can skip the combat encounters, so you don't
That's
actually
cool.
need to do them.
Yeah.
You just press like the select button, and it just skips you through the whole thing. So I was just doing that, and it was making it, bearable to get through that point. But I was just, I was like, there's too much going on here. There's too much movement on screen and too many people talking. Like, it kind of felt like there was a lot happening at once, and I just could not be arsed. It was like overload.
Yeah.
So what happens when Scott Curry gets overloaded with stuff to play? He falls back on games that are the comfort food games. So that took me back to the open arms of Stardew Valley.
Nice.
So I started playing Stardew Valley again, been working on my farm, and then I played it one of the mornings with the wee one, continuing to honestly, I do everything on that farm, and she just pets all the animals, which, it comes in handy later down the line, but for now it's not great. But we've made it to winter, and we're starting to get ready for winter, so we've got all of our crops and all that packed away. We're ready to get everything sorted with the animals and move along down the mines and stuff, collecting all of our diamonds. But Liam, that leaves the point of what next for Scott? What next for Scott Curry? So there's 3 games. I've already listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games.
Good gravy.
5 games that I've played this week that haven't stuck the landing. On the same day that I played Stardew Valley with the wee one, we also had her cousins come over, and they were very interested in playing Fortnite on my PlayStation. So I was like, right, okay. So I downloaded Fortnite, and one of my nephews is very good on it. Like, he knows exactly what he's doing with it, and he wanted to buy the Battle Pass. So I was like, right, do you know what? Go and buy it. Why not? And I got myself a nice shiny Sabrina Carpenter skin. So I'm now one of the Fortnite massive, cutting about playing no build, no scoping everyone. I played maybe 5 rounds of it, and I was like, I will come back to this. Like, it's so frustrating, because Fortnite is one of those games that, as a 33-year-old man, I cannot look myself in the mirror or look my wife in the eye and say, yeah, I'm playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, hand your wedding ring back immediately. So I stopped playing it. And this was around about Sunday. No, in fact, not even, it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before yesterday. I was like, well, do you know what? The Xbox Oblivion stuff's going to come out in a couple of days. So let's just get on the Xbox and just play a couple of things on there. So this leads me to the second last game on my list. Okay. And it's a game that I've wanted to play for a very long time, but I never have. And I thought, I'll put it on, and I'll see how it is. It's a game that, as I say, I've never played it before. It is an absolute classic, classic Xbox game. One due for a comeback, I'd say. But it takes us back to our mascot conversation from many moons ago. And I played Banjo-Kazooie for the very first time.
Are you enjoying it?
So it was great. It's great. Like, I never really knew what to expect coming into it, to be honest with you. But I did the first world and collected, everything that there was to collect. And now I'm just running about like a wee arsehole. And it's great. Like, I think if this next game hadn't come out, I'd still be playing it now, because it's so fun. All the music in it's fucking class as well. Like, it's brilliant. And I think it's one that I'm surprised that Scott Curry of yore had never played before. It's just never one that stuck the landing with me. But this leads me on to the final game of my conversation, and I'm very sorry to the listeners, because that was a lot to take in. But I trust you. trust me, it's worth it
Yeah.
for this landing. So the final game on my list for this week is one that released yesterday. And I promised Liam that I would play it. So I've been playing the Oblivion Remaster.
Oh, so happy. So happy to hear this.
Or as I like to call it, Skyrim 2.0.
Oh, how dare. How dare.
I only say it to annoy you. But, you know, I've made my wee guy, so I'm I can't even remember what I am. I'm just a normal wee guy.
An Imperial.
And I'm an Imperial, and every single playthrough starts. I'm going to wield heavy weapons. I'm going to go mage. I'm going to do all this, and then you find a bow and arrow, and that just becomes your entire personality.
Yep.
Sneaking around, sniping things in the head. It's great, and it never gets old. The one thing I'll give this, and it's the dopamine rush of every single time I jump, I'm getting something for it. Like I'm getting acrobatic points for jumping, and see when that pops, I'm like, fucking yes, man, I'll jump all day if you want me to jump. I'll fucking fly. And there's something to be said for that and how that triggers something in my brain because it feels like I'm making progress. Now I'm not, as I say, this is not a game that I'm familiar with in the slightest. So this is my very, very, very first playthrough of it. And I'll say this is that it's not annoying me as much as Skyrim did. I don't feel like, tomorrow when this podcast goes out, or Friday when this podcast goes out, I'll have dropped it immediately because Expedition 33 is coming out. However, for the time that I've had with it, I can always go back because it's not something that I think you'll ever lose. A couple of gripes that I have with it is that I'm not entirely sure about the way that I enjoy picking up quests. It's very Dragon's Dogma that you kind of fall into quests and they just show up on screen if you've heard the right line of dialogue or something like that, and you have to seek those out. I prefer that it be some way that would tell me what I'm looking for, like someone who's never understood this. But I've made my way through to. Oh God, I've been to loads of wee towns and stuff. I've been knocking about all over the place. I'm running down. I've met Joffrey, so I've given him the Amulet of Kings.
Yep.
And now I'm just running about like an arsehole about the forest.
That's a way to do it, though. That is a way to do it.
Try to find some house. But it's good. Like it is good. I've become too obsessed with shooting stupid stones off of wee pedestals that don't land in the right place. Like, why do they never fall in the right place? Why can you never just go and pick them up? They always fall and get stuck in like a wee crevice that you can never reach. And I think when I turned it off last night, I was standing outside an elven ruin place to go and get one of the stones that some fucking guy wants to sell. Some weird faced guy wants to buy off me. Why do they all have like weird faces? Like, listen, why do they all have pure Ozempic faces? Like, they're all fucked.
You think that's bad? I mean, you should have been there for the original, because even at the time, it was like the very moon-like faces, I would say. There was something seriously off. Like, they're all so happy, almost to the point where you're walking about and it's like, man, everybody in Tamriel is high as fuck. Like, there's the famous bit just at the very start of the game. And just before Uriel Septim, the Emperor gets done in. And the second before it, he's sitting there just with this wee smile on his face. And then he just gets done in. Obviously, it's much better. Like, the update is wow. Well, I'll get into more of that in a minute. But do tell the rest of your adventure with Oblivion Remastered so far.
It's I said it about Assassin's Creed, is that I'm not keen on a game that I kind of feel like I'm walking around picking up things and going to different places. And that is exactly what Oblivion is doing. Like, it's the exact same thing, but I tell you, it's the dopamine rush of I ran for maybe 4 seconds and it get a wee thing saying that it's leveling me up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fucking good. Like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it. But the one thing I'll say, and I don't know if this is a common gripe amongst the Oblivion lovers out there, but why do I have to sleep to level up?
Yeah, it's a strange thing that's in there. But that's kind of part of the charm, I suppose. I say this as somebody that put in too much time way back in the day, way back in 2006. Yeah, I'm glad that there's still some of the kind of weird bugs and oddities within there. That's not a bug; it's a feature. I've run into a few bugs already, probably about four.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, yeah, they really have remastered this, bugs and all, because oddly they get away with it. Frustrating as it is though, because I'm just like, right, back to the quick save, start again. I've had to kind of do it a few times. What I would say is on the quest after the main quest after you've met Joffrey, just keep going down that path, because there's something really cool that's kind of central to the whole game that you will really enjoy. And once you get through that bit, you'll kind of understand what they kind of what they're aiming at if you ever go back
What
to
they
it.
aim
That is.
for. I mean,
Um,
that's kind of what I'm doing. I had this conversation with myself last night, and that I've learned that when I play these games, going off the beaten path initially is usually a bad idea. It's
Mhm.
like when you play Fallout 4 and you've got to go to that red rocket place, but you
oh
just
God,
don't.
yeah.
You just go a wee walk and go and do whatever you want. Like, it's usually a bad idea. So I made a point to go and see Joffrey, and I went into that town. I want to remember its name, but I cannot fucking remember it. Chorrol, I think it
Yeah,
is. So I went in there and did all
Coral.
the bullshit that I had to do in there. I met some wee guy who, you know, sells stuff,
Mm-hmm.
nefarious goods. Did that nonsense, and I've just been running around like. But I've now got this wee quest marker across the other end of the map that I need to go and do. But I've been enjoying making my way through it.
That's it. I mean,
And sort of going down the path. But I will say this about it, Liam,
mhm.
is that we've spoken about games that we've fallen asleep to before,
Oh,
and the music in this game will send me off one day. Like,
it's
it's
so good and
aye,
almost soothing. Like the
yeah,
music, Jeremy Soul's score in that is masterful. But you're right, it's so relaxing. And I've
mhm,
had those moments with Skyrim as well, but Oblivion just hit different. And then it has like the big epic. The only thing that can rival the Skyrim soundtrack is the Oblivions, and it's unbelievable. There's been times through the years that I've put on a YouTube video just to listen to the music again, and
mhm,
it's goated. It really
yeah,
is. Like, and
it's
that's the thing that
great,
I
man.
love about it. Like when you compare that, like a Fallout to an Elder Scrolls, it's just the kind of the music that just keeps going. It's kind of like watching a Christopher Nolan film. Like the music just pulsing all the way through, and that if you take that away and it's just too empty, or too, what's the word? Empty is not the word, but if it's just like just very minimalistic in the music, whereas it's a constant score, it's
Mhm,
fantastic. You can't help but
yeah,
get swept up in it, and yeah, I am delighted to hear that you're enjoying your time with it, even if it is just a short stay. I think that's the whole point and the beauty of Game Pass. Though it's like yesterday was a moment, the worst kept secret in video games finally come true. We knew it was going to shadow drop, but to still see it confirmed out of
mhm,
nowhere, I think, wow, that doesn't happen very often. It's special, and you saw it like there was over 170,000 concurrents on Steam. It doesn't really mean much, but it's a lot of people. If you chuck in the console people on top of that as well, it's just what I loved about it was that there was just this explosion of old as fuck gamers, but plus new ones thinking this looks good enough to jump into. And it was oh, warm and fuzzy feeling. This
mhm,
the nostalgic 2006 vibe of it all, taking me back to being like 15, 16 years old, playing it for the first time. Oblivion has a special place in my heart. It's the first game I remember buying with my first paycheck at the time when I got an Xbox 360 and I bought Oblivion. And it was the first game I bought. And it wasn't something I was pure, man, I'm fucking buzzing to get the Elder Scrolls. It was my first experience of the Elder Scrolls. And it got me into the series at that point. And I just can't get over how astonishingly good the game looks in terms of what they've did with Unreal Engine 5 here. And then adding in like the modernizations. But I'm like, Unreal Engine 5 is a total dream machine. Like,
yeah,
remember on YouTube, you'd always get like Unreal Engine remakes of Ocarina of Time and stuff like that. And now they're already talking about, I'll do it with Fallout 3. I'm like, yeah, like these things are low hanging fruit, a great way to get good sentiment and to kind of make gamers happy, I suppose, at the end of the day, which isn't a really easy thing to do, because you've got the silent majority who are usually pretty happy, and a very vocal minority of crusty virgins out there that just want to moan about everything. But
crusty virgins.
yeah, well, they're all it's on that
It's
incel
true.
mob in it.
No,
But
you're 100% right. It's just disgusting, Liam, that we're at a point in time now where we're remastering, like that generation of games.
no, honestly,
it's disgusting.
I feel like I feel like Uriel Septim. That's so much I've aged. It's like I've aged with you, son. But I mean, it is just an ultimate, like, it's another comfort food game which I've got now in my back pocket. Between that and then might sound odd, Assassin's Creed Shadows. They're like home for me now. Like I will keep going back to it, and I've played Oblivion to death. It's just been so much fun going back in. I've stayed up way too late last night playing it and put some more time in today, obviously after hours. And it's been a fantastic continuation of Year of the Game Pass. But I also have to take my hat off to Bethesda's approach and Xbox's approach to this whole thing. We know it leaked in that, but they still made it feel special, like that kind of mini Xbox Direct feel. The talking to the developers, the fact that it's the anniversary of it, the 20 years coming up. It's like it just feels like it was such a positive beat, and that feel good vibe around Xbox just now. They keep killing it, and I'm really looking forward to the showcase in June to see what they come up with next. I think this year's been phenomenal. Probably the best year Xbox has had in over a decade. Easy. And then on top of all that, all of the reviews dropped today for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which the last time I checked had over a 90 on Metacritic, but it's probably went down to the 80s. But it's high 80s, and I'm very excited for it. And for that reason, Scott, this is coming as a surprise, because Oblivion is just one of those games that, very much like Skyrim, I will happily go back and play that as often as I possibly can. But I've decided to make Clair Obscur my next game and hold on Oblivion. The reason being is, like I said, I've experienced its greatness, and it's like a comfort blanket, so I'll quite happily just do kind of micro sessions in between whatever I'm playing. Almost the same way I would used to play the likes of FIFA. I'll just probably do that with kind of smaller Oblivion sessions when Clair Obscur drops. And the reason is I just want that new experience just now. And also really want to have that discussion around it with yourself and for our listeners. It's going to be on Game Pass. It'll be released on all platforms once this podcast goes live. But I'm taken back to how amazing it was to play through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth last year, and just kind of having that shared journey. And I know it's not going to be as long a game. Apparently it takes about 30-35 hours to beat, which is a good thing. That makes it all the more appealing, especially for something that is a turn-based JRPG inspired adventure, and it's something new for me, and I think it looks exciting. I think this is something that for a lot of hardcore gamers have got their eye on it, but if you've got Game Pass there, even if not, it's like, well, it looks like it could be a wee hidden gem. Kind of similar to what happened with Blueprints and South of Midnight last month. I was all set to play South of Midnight, Blueprints, bag odd, RKO out of nowhere, and I was been obsessed with it all month. Nice segue into that. So I mean, in terms of what else I've been playing this week, Blueprints has been up there. I'm over 20 hours into the game. I do find that I'm enjoying it more and more as I go. I've made it to the antechamber within there, and I feel that I'm not far off finding the elusive room 46. So I kind of just want to get it done, get out the road, because I know if I put that one down, that's something else. So that's my difficult choice now, which is, do I finish Blueprints before moving on to Clair Obscur? That's basically it, because I can jump in and out of Oblivion, no bother. Same way I'm doing with Assassin's Creed. And it's just because of how things are set up in the house. That's the only way I can describe it. I'm in the back here, which has now been dubbed the den, which is kind of like where I've got my desk and stuff like that, and then my wife's got a reading area. And in the living room, I've got the PlayStation 5 Pro set up in there. And that's where the Assassin's Creed Shadows station and action happens. So it's kind of like we're rotating or we're kind of meeting in the middle. But yeah, there's so many games to play just now, and it's amazing. Like, spoiled for choice, and I don't actually feel the pressure to play them all. I want to play them all. That's the difference. I don't feel like I need to play them all. But these
Yeah.
are games where I'm like, right, if I was to sit down and do a full playthrough of Oblivion just now, I don't really want to do that. However, the need to play it isn't as much as me wanting to. I feel like I've got that the wrong way about. I want to play it in short bursts, and I want to play Clair Obscur. And I've got a very small window now, Scott, where I've got probably a little bit more time to do these things. And I'm going to take full advantage of it, to be honest. Like,
Right.
cards on the table. And let's say it's been a busy week. So that's what, about 3-4 games I've mentioned there. I've also played, and as promised to our listeners last week, I've been playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on PlayStation 5 Pro. I should say as well, code provided by Bethesda. Thank you to them for that. As I said, playing it on PlayStation 5 Pro, and the game looks sensational still. So it's what I would say is, on the PlayStation 5 Pro, I think I would be lying if I was going to give you a Digital Foundry breakdown in terms of what the difference is. It's like the ray tracing, the God rays, etc., looks a little bit better here, but I mean by a absolute fraction. It's not like Assassin's Creed Shadows, where it was a considerable upgrade using the pisser, but it runs like butter. It did on Series X as well. And I did say it's very fine margins between this and Series X. It's there will be subtle differences, but I'd say on the whole, when you're playing it and it's on the same television, same setup, it's a pretty much comparable experience. Differences coming through the haptics on the DualSense, which, again, any game that uses that just makes it immediately more immersive, which is fantastic. And I would say that you have to, if you've got access to this and you're pondering it, definitely go play it. Like, we spoke about it at great length a few months ago on release, and it's a fantastic experience, whether it is on PlayStation 5 or Xbox. It's an absolutely outstanding game. Really happy I got the chance to return to it. It's a game that I thoroughly recommend. I believe I gave it a 9 out of 10 last year, and I stand by that. The game itself is still so engrossing and fun. I enjoyed kind of playing that during the Easter weekend, because it kind of felt like I was sticking on an Indiana Jones movie that you could watch with the kids. Maybe shut their eyes once the Ark of the Covenant is opening, but it's still something that's pulpy, it's fun, and it was like I was sitting there with my son, my daughter, my wife. They were all just kind of around us as I was playing it for a bit during the afternoon. I went back to it in the evenings, and it's like it pulls you in, or it pulled me in once again, and I don't know. It's just a mix of, like, if you are an Indiana Jones fan and a gamer, you're going to have so much fun, and you're going to be so happy. There'll be smiles on your faces as you kind of go back to Marshall College. Troy Baker's performance as Indy is sensational, and I don't know if they've made a few updates to the character models, like for the cutscenes, because right off the bat they recreate the kind of the opening Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you've got Alfred Molina's character, and I remember playing it at launch on Series X, and he looked really goofy, like kind of just slightly off, but it did look better, the character model on the PlayStation 5 version that I was playing. I don't know if I can attribute that to PlayStation 5, or if I think what they've done is they've just made a little update, if any. But I mean, again, very, very subtle. I will say that the biggest difference that I've seen, again, just comes down to that ray tracing and lighting that you see, like particularly early on. Anytime you're in a building with sunshine and it's beaming through, it does look absolutely stunning on PlayStation 5 Pro. But I think it's I would be splitting hairs if I'm honest, but the good news is it's an absolutely fantastic action adventure game where you will feel like the archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones. It's as simple as that. And if you're going in expecting Uncharted, I would just say, have you watched the films? Because Nathan Drake is inspired by Indiana Jones, but they are not the same. Indiana Jones is a nerd. He's an archaeologist first, and he punches his way out of problems. And let me tell you, you never get tired of wrapping a broomstick or a guitar over a fascist or Nazi's head in that game. It is fantastic. And yeah, I think what I did different this time around was just take my time like around the Vatican and all the kind of open exploration areas. Whereas my first playthrough, I was very much more golden path in it. And by the time you get to the end of the story, which would probably take you a good, 14 to 18 hours, depends if you're taking your time. You could probably do it in about 12, I would say. Especially if you know what you're doing. That's the difference. I found myself just beelining it at points, but just to get to those kind of open exploration bits. And there's so much stuff in there to do. There's a lot of content in this game. So yeah, I just thought it's a really nice opportunity. Pleasantly surprised at the opportunity. And again, thanks to Bethesda for that code. But it's not changed my opinion on the game. Still a 9 out of 10 for me, and one I'd recommend. So yeah, and I know I say that fully as the half of this podcast that loved the game. It wasn't for Scott.
That's why we chose you to do this route. That's why we chose you to play it again.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think putting it on PS5 is going to change my opinion of it. However, it's from what you've sent to me and what I've watched of it, it looks comparable to what we played on Xbox anyway. So,
aye. But I mean, listen, if it looks great on one, it looks great on the other. Both players are winning, and that's only a good thing for me. And I think it's been probably what I would say is the most impressive thing is that there hasn't been any like bugs or any little let ups. It's been a fantastic kind of port over to another console platform. And again, that just shows that they are committed still to being multi-platform in their own way. The staggered release, though, the only criticism I have is that I know that it would made, it's just before Christmas, they wanted that Game Pass. That Indiana Jones is probably the starting pistol for this phenomenal run they've been on. It would have been amazing if it just went everywhere at once, similar to the Oblivion Remastered yesterday.
Yeah.
But I think we might start seeing more of that, because I think Xbox will start to gain confidence. Like, sale's a sale, because if they're going to buy it in PlayStation, they're paying full whack for it. And it's still more enticing to get it on Xbox out the two. If a game's on Xbox and PlayStation, but it's on Game Pass, I'm taking the Game Pass option every time. Every single time.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I mean, I found myself this week just with you talking about Clair Obscur earlier on being like, maybe I will go for it on PS5 just for the pro enhancements, but it's never worth it. Like it's especially if it's on Game Pass, do you know what I mean? Like it's not worth the purchase.
Exactly. But speaking of purchases as well, Scott, let's say it's been a busy week, and obviously yesterday we had, or this week's to say, we had the Oblivion Remaster getting shadow dropped out of nowhere, thinking it's Beyonce. And then today, out of nowhere, let's just say this week, don't want to give away when we're recording it. This week, PlayStation just dropped out of nowhere that Ghost of Yotei is confirmed for an October 2nd release date as well. Random, but I'm here for it. It did feel weird that they didn't announce a state of play for it, because they could have easily just shoehorned a bunch of other stuff around it.
I mean, they've got the Borderlands state of play though, so we can't encroach on that.
I know. Christ on a bike, man. Don't get me started, so I won't. But yeah, the Ghost of Yotei, 2nd of October, and I'm not going to lie, that collector's edition looking pretty enticing, Scott. You might have to stop me from making a very poor financial decision. I've got shelves here that need to be filled with.
I mean, you've got more shelf space than you ever have before, so it would make sense.
Honestly,
do you know? I haven't even watched the trailer for it. If I'm being truthfully honest with you, I just saw that the release date was October 2nd, and I was like, good. That's just around my birthday, so that'll be nice.
Aye. The trailer's very good. It's what you expect. Looks gorgeous. I like the direction they're taking with the game. It not too dissimilar from the kind of setup of Assassin's Creed Shadows in terms of like the Shin Bakfu and stuff like that. But it looks like it's still a much more cinematic, slightly darker tale that they're spinning here. And I think if they manage to get this sequel just right, it might elevate it. And of course, we'll be talking all about that shortly. Before we do, I wanted to, of course, thank everybody that joined us for that very special episode last week with Greg Miller. Feedback on that has been sensational, and first of many, we hope as well, with some special guests down the line. So we'll keep you posted on that as we go. But again, if you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It's episode 56. And we just sit down for a chat with Greg Miller from Kinda Funny. We do this week, Scott, have some listener mail. Once again, from a friend of the show, Adam Cunnels Miller, who I was absolutely pissing myself laughing at this when he sent it through. And in typical Cunnels fashion. But he's given us an update just on his progress for Elden Ring I wanted to share, because this is definitely going to get your juices flowing here, Scott, because you'll have a good boss scrap. But he's stuck on the big blade guy that's start the fight as a beast monk, and he keeps pumping his dex build. And I think from that I gather he's on Malekith.
Malekith, yeah.
Which right now, all I'm going to say is, requested in Patchy, R.I.P. to that character of yours, because you're going to be there for a while, man. It's a brutal fight, but it is one of the best in the games, easily. I mean, in our first playthrough, I had a big cheese build that used the carrying shield, and it had an enchantment on it that basically fired 3 big arrows that absolutely destroyed him in about 2-3 hits, to the point, and it was the one and only time that I get tagged in to help Scott Curry with a boss fight, because it was doing your head in, and I just strolled up and slapped him. It was great.
It's one of those experiences where, I'm terrible for not wanting to summon in during boss fights. I'll help anyone who needs help, but when it comes to me, I enjoy the pain. It's like I for some reason that I'll I enjoy that. But with that one, I was just like, fuck this. It's such a fucking pain in the ass. Like, I cannot be bothered dealing with that. So it's good, but that's all I'll say is get the summons in. Put your wee thingies down and get people in, because it's much easier just to get it done. And if you're really, 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 really wanting to, do it by yourself, find the black knife. Find the black knife. That's all I'll say. I said that to my nephews in the past. I've said it to every single person that's ever played Elden Ring around me. Find the black knife and use it first thing, and that's your that's you. You're done.
Yeah. Level up.
Black knife tish. Knife tish.
Go
and find the man himself.
That's
and then you're ready to go.
Well, best of luck with that one. He also gives an update. He says he's so happy he's found a game like Blueprints. Nothing better than spending a day running about his house looking for all the shit he's misplaced than playing a game where he walks about a house looking for shit. So, of course, he's been very sarcastic.
It's so true, man. Like,
I've not thought about it that way.
It's fucking outrageous how much actually that is true.
Yeah. He really not a fan of it at all. But again, I'm not surprised. Like, it's this, as much praise as it's got, it is a very Marmite type game. You're either going to love it, you're going to hate it. He's also given us an update on where his son's at with his gaming journey. Still enjoying Sonic in all forms, but he does feel that now would be a good time to bring a well-made Sonic game to the table to make the most of all the good work Sega are doing at the moment, Sonic-wise. I do agree, because Sonic is so hot right now. The kids are daft on Sonic. I've got my son's birthday party in a couple of weeks, and he wants a Sonic themed party. So of course that means that your old dad will be making chili dogs. And of course, I'm upset about that, because I pure hate chili dogs.
I hate chili dogs.
I'm
going to come dressed as Dr. Eggman.
Oh, please do. That'd be so fun.
I'm going to do it. I'll find all the gear for it, and I'll become dressed as Eggman.
Oh, if you do that, If you do that, we have to do the dance routine. That's all I'm saying.
I've not seen it. We watched Sonic 1 for the first time.
Yeah.
like a few nights ago. And then I had to go out shopping, so I came back and they'd finished watching Sonic 2. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, gatekeeping Sonic films for me now. Like, I was
man.
pure buzzing to watch it, but now I don't want to because it feels like they've ruined it for me.
You should. You would love it, especially the end of that film. Its anime is all hell. Yeah.
I mean, that's Sonic in a nutshell. Sonic fans are going to be raging McConnells, though, because crying out for a great Sonic game. Sonic fans are going to be so upset.
See what he did there. See what he did there. But I get what he means as well. I remember putting on Sonic Mania for my son, and I've never seen him look so bored. But he much preferred the more newer style of Sonic games. Retro.
What's the new Sonic Generations one? Is it Sonic Generations Shadow or something like that?
Yep, that's
Sonic Generations Cross Shadow or something. That's
coming to Switch.
Sonic and Shadow, Sonic Cross Shadow Generation. Oh my god, I can't even fucking speak. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. That's supposed to be fucking pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you know
I just want them to remake Sonic Adventure Battle 1 and 2 just for the Chow Garden. That's all I want.
Tell you what, use Unreal Engine 5. It's the dream machine. Like I said.
I just want to roll around at the speed of sound. I've got places to go. I've got to follow that rainbow.
That's it.
Escape from the city, man. Like, fucking remake it in glorious HD, and I'll be there first in line. Get it done.
I'm curious as well to hear what Colonels would expect from a good Sonic game. As other listeners as well, do you think Sonic could do more? Is it time to get his finger out? I want to know. I do want to know. But he finished his piece of mail by letting us know that he's writing it in the bath. So forgive him for any typos, which of course I was absolutely pissing myself when I read that final line. That's what you call a good closer. But again, always awesome to hear from you, Colonels. Please keep us updated because I really want to hear just when you become the Elden Lord. That's going to be a good moment for us all. But yes, I digress.
Whatever needs honors.
Oh, that as well, actually. Yeah, we can get a summon party going. Night Rain's on the way. 3 of us. These things happen. A game that's just not on my radar at all, I have to admit. But I think last year it broke me in Elden Ring after the final boss battle, and that I was like, I'm done with this now. I am completely done. Beat it, deleted it, we move on. And speaking of moving on, I think it's time for us to go on to our main topic this week, which is, of course, titled Unfinished Business. Games that should get a sequel, but never will. So, this is falling off the back of our chat last week, Scott. We're talking about the absolutely fantastically underrated The Order 1886. We're going to take a stab at naming the best games we believe that should get a sequel, should have gotten a sequel, but they never will for one reason or t'other. Of course, this is a very, very simple one for us, Scott, this week. All we have to do is bring our choices and just tell each other why. Why does it deserve more? Why will it never happen is the thing I want to hear about. Why is that the case? And would you be so kind as to kick this off for us?
Indeed. I think we can probably end this topic after this one, though, because this is the elephant in the room. This is the one that just needs to happen. But the only game that really hit the back of my head when I thought about this was Bloodborne.
Top of my list.
Come on now.
Right.
Come on now. Like, Sony, what the fuck? We're having to get some fucking weird, pishy Nintendo Switch 2 version of fucking Bloodborne just to get a fucking sequel. Geese peace. Fucking done. Father Gascoigne back alive. Do you know what I mean? Bring him back.
I think
just do more with it.
I think I knocked my computer out there for a second there, sorry. But yeah, I can still hear you.
He's still here. He's still here. I'm talking to myself now.
Just straight, I think I've kicked out in rage that you're talking about the fact that Bloodborne 2 isn't going to happen. But yeah, when you go.
It's disgusting. Like, when did Bloodborne actually come out?
2015.
2015. So fucking 10 years removed from Bloodborne. Like, I swear. Insane. Now that I've put this out into the world, because I have a really bad habit of saying things that eventually do happen. Go back to the Jackie Wells episode of the Cyberpunk chat.
Classic.
However, if Sony were to say, look, we're doing a 10-year anniversary remaster or pro-enhanced version of Bloodborne, that is the system seller. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you might as well just say we've now got PS5 Pros for everyone because everyone wants it. Do you know what I mean? Like people want that game. If it were to come out with a sequel, holy moly, like that's exactly what I want. But if they were to come out with a prequel for Bloodborne, how did we get here? I think that's the more interesting part for me, where we find more about fucking you find out more about Father Gascoigne and stuff. Like, what about I actually can't even remember any of the characters' names. Eileen the Crow, where did she come from? Why is she there? Like, we just get to see them as younger versions of themselves. It's phenomenal. Like, I'd love it. I really would love it. But Sony, for all the good they do in the world, they're also fucking stupid as all hell, and they would never do it.
They're not quick to kind of do these things, which is why I think it's a very worthy candidate for this topic. You know, it should get a sequel, but right now it doesn't seem like it's going to. Even though Elden Ring 2 or whatever the follow up, they think about that would come first because that just made bank. But you know that Sony will probably wait till 25 year anniversary before they even hint at doing something. I could be wrong. We could get I would love nothing more for that pop. I mean, this is Bloodborne 2 has kind of become the Final Fantasy VII remake or the Shenmue 3 or the Shadow of the Colossus. Basically, it wasn't Shadow of the Colossus.
The Last Guardian.
Yeah, it's became that. It's became the mythological announcement at these shows. It's still in the meme phase though. But you've got to let us give up hope before they drop it, because they want to obviously they want to remind us they're in charge here. Do we feel in charge? We don't. But they want us to. they want to remind us. That's a wee Dark Knight Rises reference there for you.
Dropping in Bane quotes.
But yeah, it's so obvious. But you're right. Elephant in the Room, Bloodborne, I think is top of that tree because it's just a slam dunk. You know what I mean? There's a time in your life before you play Bloodborne, and there's a time in your life after. You know, Colonels, you're listening to this. When you finish Elden Ring, if you haven't already, go play Bloodborne. And that'd be the best time to do it. Take it from me. I did exactly that. I ended up platinum the damn thing right after finishing or getting the platinum in Elden Ring. But yeah, it won't get one just purely because I think there's some like From Software have moved on. I think that's basically it. And I think they've got bigger fish in their eyes to fry. And I really do get the vibe that they're more interested in exploring different formats, even if it is like, right, okay, we'll give you the Soulsborne formula. I think we've seen that with the Dust Bloods, but they're exploring this multiplayer stuff. And then you had Armored Core. Was that last year, the year before? You know, I think they're wanting to kind of spread their wings a little bit. You know, like I think they do need that. All the big studios have it. You know, even if there's something shared in the DNA. Like, they need a Last of Us to an Uncharted, a Red Dead Redemption to a Grand Theft Auto. Something there that just kind of gives them them and the team a way to kind of cleanse their own palate and come back feeling refreshed, as opposed to just churning out constantly the same type of sequels. It must be a hard grind for them. But I'll follow this up with my next one, and I'm sure you'll agree, because this is probably the baby elephant in the room, I would say, for me. And that game that I think deserves a sequel but will never ever get one is Sleeping Dogs.
I didn't even hear what you said.
Didn't hear? Well, Scott's obviously got some technical difficulties here. He can't hear me.
You mean like that? The baby elephant in the room is, and it went.
I'm keeping you in suspense. The baby elephant in the room was what I said was Sleeping Dogs.
Yes, it was on my list as well. What a fucking game Sleeping Dogs is, man. Like,
it had no right.
Actually,
no right.
I almost bought it. I almost bought the definitive edition on my PlayStation a few weeks back, just to have it, just in case.
Oh, you should.
What a fucking game! Like, it's so good.
But I picked up the definitive edition in a sale, probably not long ago. It was because it was dirt cheap at the time. I did the usual thing, like the midnight browse to the PlayStation store just to pretend there was something there that I'll be interested in buying, and then I saw the definitive edition for buttons, picked it up then. But I'll never forget getting that game, and it came out around about my birthday, and I remember just sitting playing it, and like everybody else, so pleasantly surprised and utterly obsessed, and that just been exploring a different part of the world in a different way with something you're kind of familiar with GTA, but it still felt like it was its own thing there with the combat. The hand to hand combat was fantastic, but it was the story. I mean, at the time, you're like, that damn, like this is going toe to toe with some of the best like action open world games out there. Even though it was kind of largely inspired by um, don't want to say The Departed, but it's the film that inspired The Departed, or the original one of that. My mind is like a sieve just now trying to think about it, but
Yes,
one,
vamp, and I'll figure it out. I'll say it and
yeah,
pretend that I knew what it was, right?
it's not going to get a sequel, which is a shame. They did try to expand on it with Triad Wars, which wasn't the best. But it just seems to be again another game that if someone like a THQ Nordic or something like that was to somehow get the rights to this, I mean, Sleeping Dogs nearly didn't happen at all. You know, it was
Yeah,
originally supposed to be another entry in the
true
True Crime
crime.
series, and
Hmm.
it went through a bit of a development hell. And it's just a miracle that the end product ended up being greater than the sum of its parts to get there. Um,
100%. Aye, it's phenomenal. Like it is. What a game!
mhm.
It genuinely. I think playing it, it reminded me of an old PlayStation 2 game that
Yeah,
a Jet Li's Rise to Honor. Like, I tried to Google what game that was because you had to you control combat using the analog sticks, but it was just like that style of sort of combat, tying that into this mad story, and then having probably the worst driving mechanics in any video game ever.
yeah,
That you know, it was phenomenal. It was a match made in heaven. And it is a game that there's ample opportunity for there to be a sequel. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But they've got opportunities up the arse to get a sequel out there, but it's just that it will never happen because the development hell that it went through the first place. So
yeah. And obviously,
fuck that.
like the 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 sequel did end up getting cancelled. Um, Obviously the spin-off you mentioned, Triad Wars, cancelled. It's just like they had a hit in their hands, and it just bewilders me that
Mhm.
of all the bets that you want to take in the video game world, a sequel seems like the safest bet. But I don't know if it was down to the sales or something. Um, Hence why it probably didn't get the sequel that it deserved. But yeah, it's such a shame because I think, especially now in that space, something that is around kind of more the ins and outs of the relationship between police, criminals, all the rest of that, the betrayal, all that type of stuff that goes on. It's the closest thing I could think that's kind of most like it. Something like The Getaway, something like that. Like it
Yeah.
bewilders me that you don't get a lot more of these type of games.
Hmm.
Um, and we're all so focused on the likes of Grand Theft Auto 6, and it's probably why, because they come out and it's like it's just a GTA clone. Sleeping Dogs
Yeah.
proved that, yeah, it can be a GTA clone. It can take elements of like Batman Arkham in terms of its combat, but it can still put up a pretty tasty dish, something that is still beloved to this day. If you haven't played it, go play it because you're not getting a sequel anytime soon. So
Nah.
that's all I'll say. But what's your next pick? What other games would you?
So the
Hmm.
first pick was obviously an easy one, and Sleeping Dogs was actually the next on my list because it was it was high on the ones that I think deserve the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, the next few that I have are personal. It's not games that deserve sequels. It's games that I want
Oh,
to have sequels for.
here we go.
And the first one I come with a rationale for, but the first game that I personally want to have a sequel is Brutal Legend.
Oh, right, okay.
Jack Black is so hot right now.
He is,
Come
yeah.
on,
Also Hansel.
let's put him back into a video game and let's get more mad fucking metal rock music. It was class.
Yeah.
Like that game is so stupid. Like so stupid. And it should not make sense. But for some reason, driving about that world, listening to fucking Anvil is the greatest thing that any game has ever given me. Like that was almost formative in the time that I was growing up. It
Yeah.
was so good. Was it Tim Schafer?
Tim
Was it one of
Schafer,
his
yeah.
games? And it was just so good.
Oh man, like when you're talking there, I absolutely bang my knee off the table. I'm having a howler today. It's not a game that I've ever played, Brutal Legends. It was one that was, again, just didn't have the disposable income to go get it, but it was one that I would always read about in gaming magazines and intrigued by because I was like, oh, Jack Black's in this. And you're right. If you're ever going to revisit something like that, now's the time to do it because he's in everything, but he's picking the right projects. He's got he still has like a charm. He's kind of targeting that kind of family type audience, but also kind of preteen audience, which seems to be working wonders for him. Because if you were to say to me 20 years ago, Jack Black is still going to be huge, if not bigger than what he was in the early noughties now, I'd have said nah, because like he very much seemed like a product of his time. He is a product of his time, but I don't know how it seems to still be working. But
it's true. And I mean that game is definitely a product of its time. But
yeah.
I think there's a way to manifest it in the year of 2025, and it's dirt cheap on Xbox, Liam. You can play it on backwards compatibility on Xbox, and there's an excellent video game there. I'm telling you, I might be the only person in the world to ever say that, but Brutal Legend is so good.
Yeah.
You get this motor. It's not even it's like a big motorbike, like a big monster truck motorbike, and you literally have like a radio station that pumps out like rock music as you drive. So I'm sure it's got like songs from like Black Sabbath and Dio and Anvil, as I said before. Like it's just constantly blaring these tunes at you, and it's just all framed around this world that's created by rock. So fucking good.
Oh man. Well, I think I'll hit you with a game next, right? That's probably going to hit you right in the feels, and I think this is a game that does deserve a sequel that I don't see happening. Now, it wasn't released that long ago, but I just don't see it happening, and that is Prey 2017. I just do not see that game getting the sequel it fully deserves. We've had hints at with the expansions, where they kind of introduced like the roguelike elements, but in terms of like and the immersive sim as a genre is something which is really really difficult to find a massive audience for, and B, they don't good ones don't come along that often. In fact, any ones don't come along that often, I would say, that get at least make it your way to your radar. But I remember taking a punt on Prey and being so surprised by it. And because the original trailers, I was thinking, this looks like it's a scary one. I don't know if that's for me, because, Resident Coward on the show. And I was so glad I did take a punt on it. It was something that I found so engaging to play. Yes, it was tense, but that's the thing. It wasn't scary. It was tense. And like any good sci-fi horror, Alien, for example, it's all about the tension as opposed to the horror itself. And, in space, all you do is ass clench. That should be the tagline for this, because that's what it is. You just do not know wherever a mimic is hiding. I don't think it's going to get...
That is the best gameplay trope, I think, within the last, 10, 15 years. Like, it's outrageous how well it works, that you could literally be just walking through a room and something just pops out. Like,
yeah,
it is so cool. And if you could translate that into modern day, there's something there, man. Like, there's something incredible there. But as you say, it's impossible because,
yeah. I mean, I remember when you played Prey, and it really did. Like it went way high in your expectation. I think the same thing. You're probably thinking, I could give it a go, and you were totally blown away by it. I remember you absolutely adoring this game when you're playing it, and
it's the glue gun and all that. Like, just it's the way that it's a game that there's a lot in terms of people talk about how you can make your own game and you play it the way that you can play it the way you want to play it. But Prey is definitely like that. Like I remember the first 5 minutes, you go into this room and you use that glue gun to jump on top of this other bit that you shouldn't be yet, and it's like I'm here
Yeah,
now. Like
yeah.
how the hell did I get here? It's so stupid, but it's class. But that's the most upsetting one. I wish you hadn't said it now because now I'm going to be thinking about Prey.
Yeah, it definitely deserved more. I don't see it happening, and it's probably a hint at something else that's on my list as well. But I just don't see it happening. Why? I think sales for me. I think it's just
Yeah.
something that ever more they're needing surefire bets, which is probably why we're seeing a lot more remakes and remasters like Oblivion, etc. I think game publishers are probably more risk averse than they've ever been, in my opinion. So when you get something special like this, or even like the aforementioned Sleeping Dogs as well, even though the hardcore will advocate for it, it's like still not enough. Even though it's like, oh, it sold a good few million. They are wanting that to start with tens, at least probably hundreds. To be honest with you, I'm not sure how many copies sale, or how many sales it actually went through. I'm trying to find that just now. We know also it did have the infamous technical issues on release. I think it was IGN gave it a really low score because they just couldn't get it working, which probably killed any chance it had, to kind of get that initial boost. But yeah, it was looking here sales wise. Yeah, I mean, it did do well. It was the first Bethesda game since 2016 Doom to get to number one in the UK game charts. But again, I don't think it was anything that really they could write home about. So sadly, again, financial reasons as to why we're not going to get that one. But what else have you got in that list of yours, Scott?
So the next one that I had is a game that I think again I'm probably the only person that actually wants this.
Mhm.
But the next one that I thought about was actually LA Noir.
Yeah, yeah.
I have got a wee soft spot in my heart for LA Noir. There's something really, really, really sweet about driving around in that city. Do you know what I mean? Like and seeing it old timey and stuff like that is something really cool about it. And some of the decisions that they made about, the facial expressions as you're questioning folk um and the actual story and stuff itself, it's just really charming. I think that was it Team Bondi or something like that. There was a lot of development issues surrounding that, which then
Yeah.
obviously inevitably meant that Rockstar, did step in. But I think that that's possibly the reason why we won't see LA Noir. It kind of feels like anything from LA Noir will now just been absorbed into the Grand Theft Auto system, which isn't a bad thing. But there's just something really cool about LA Noir. I don't really know if it's just me, but that whole fantasy of playing as the cop and sort of figuring out all these sort of murders and questioning folk and finding evidence and stuff. It's just really cool. Like there's something really really cool about it.
Yeah.
And I think there could be more. I think in a sequel you could be less handholdy. Like I think the first one it says like find this, and it's like, well, now I know that that's here. Do you know what I mean? Like it could just be very much whatever you find is what you use, and anything can happen from that point.
Yeah.
Rather than it being predetermined. But there's just something fucking awesome about LA Noir that I mean, I never want to go back and play it ever again. But it's always one that I think that if a sequel was ever to arrive, I'd be buzzing for it.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something there. I think that there's a story there. You could even go down the route of a few years later and how has the city changed? How is it all transformed and stuff like that? Where do we find ourselves now? There's definitely an opportunity there. But again, Grand Theft Auto is the train that keeps on fucking moving. So
Yeah.
LA Noir has to suffer for it.
You're right. I mean, you touched on it there. Like the reason how it's not going to get a sequel is because of all the stuff that happened with Rockstar and Team Bondi and what formerly was Team Bondi, and that was just an absolute shit show. Everything that happened about that. It sold really well, and I remember at the time it was received really well, and I totally echo that. I remember being obsessed with it. That kind of run of games that Rockstar were putting out at that time, between like LA Noire, Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto 4, and the Max Payne 3. It was fantastic, fantastic to be a gamer, and the facial kind of reading the faces and stuff like that, trying to kind of discern it and be the detective. And I think the change in time period, you're absolutely right. Like being in LA, and was it the 40s, 50s? Can't remember. In the 40s it was.
It's the 40s, aye.
Yeah, and it's like it was just after World War II, wasn't it? It's something that you just don't see a lot of in games, and they did it so well. And you're right, it was the only other games that kind of touch the same vibes as like the Mafia games. I would love it. I've always felt like these time periods are still right. We always go back to the 80s, and I'm like, why not do something like around 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s? Just there's culturally, it would be so fun to explore, and that's what I found interesting back then. It's 1940s American culture, very very distinct compared to now.
Exactly.
And it was like I do have a bone to pick with LA Noire now, in the sense that I still look back in that game like you. Like, that was a fantastic game, a solid 8, 9 out of 10 game. But it feels like that has aged. Like, the consensus around it hasn't aged well, in the sense that people are kind of like, oh, LA Noire was mid, LA Noire was rubbish, etc. I don't know why I feel that way. Like, I feel like the public consensus on it hasn't aged as well. And I don't know if maybe that would play into the hands of them maybe not taking a punt on it. But then again, they did re-release it. They've done a few definitive editions. They did the VR version as well.
Yeah.
They had like the remaster or something on the Switch not long ago, I'm pretty sure as
They
well.
came out on the Switch, yeah. No, you're 100% right, and it shows that there's interest there to put it out, but I just don't see it. But
Yeah.
I don't see it. I think it's too easy a win, but not one that I think that they would ever push through to try and do it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to take a little, little left turn here for this next game to hit you with, because I think you're going to agree with me. And it's one that pleasantly surprises anybody that plays it properly, start to finish. But we won't get it just because I just don't think it was the hit that they were hoping it would be for the publisher. And that is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. A game that, I'm sorry, like, yes, it's not the best game ever. That's not what we're trying to, it's not the objective. But it's a damn good game. Like, I think there's a lot of love and heart and attention and a really good story in this game. And gameplay wise, it wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't. I think it kind of got more stick than it deserved. But I think in terms of a video game that deserves a sequel, I really do think they deserve another bite of the cherry. I really do. I was, by the end of that, it has a much better version of Gamora than the MCU. The Star-Lord at first was jarring, but I understand that they wanted to take a different influence, like less 70s focus, more 80s glam rock focus, which works. Granted, Rocket and Groot, they're Rocket and Groot, aren't they? But their Drax kind of stood apart as well. And the more that you play that game and the story that it tells, I'm like, damn, it's a very good Guardian story. Very good Guardian story. And I know that the gameplay, at least they tried to do something new. Because when they announced it, you were like, I kind of know what I'm going to get here. Kind of like if somebody had announced a Spider-Man game, you're like, I know what I'm going to get. I could not have guessed that that's what the Guardians of the Galaxy gameplay was going to be like. And even just restricting you to play only as Star-Lord as well, and kind of use the rest of the Guardians almost as abilities. It was fascinating. And we all remember the big, you basically get ultimate attack and you have the huddle just beforehand. Which at first I was like, this feels really weird, but I don't know if I've just got a thing for kind of offbeat stuff in video games, actually, the more I'm thinking about it. But it's just something I think that won't get a sequel, because I think they were expecting this to be like a Infinity War Endgame scale of success.
Yeah.
And it's just
it's just never done it, and I think there was a lot of sort of bad. There was a sour taste in the mouth around that time, around the whole Marvel nonsense, and I think had the Avengers game already come out and flopped around that time as well, or had been and gone. So, I think there was a bad taste in the mouth for people on there. But as you say, it's one that pleasantly surprises people. Like when you do give it a go, it's full of heart and full of love for the characters, and I do love it when you get a bit of history about the characters and stuff like that as well, and that's what it gives you. Like, you got all your different costumes, full of music and stuff like that as well. Like, it's a brilliant experience.
Yeah.
And it does deserve something. But as you say, I think the time has come and gone for it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it
I
has.
think
It
you're
was,
more likely going to get a Deadpool game or something like that.
I know. Yeah.
Rather than Guardians of the Galaxy. I actually meant to say Daredevil there, not Deadpool, but I stand by both.
Take a
I
Daredevil
stand
game.
by both of them.
It's, yeah, I think that obviously Square Enix published it and they were disappointed by the sales.
Yeah.
And that surprises nobody because you could put out a game for Square Enix and sell 300 million copies and they will still be disappointed. They have some of the most absolutely outrageous sales expectations of any publisher out there. It's insane. But do you have any other ones in your list, Scott, that you want to wish to share?
I have one more that I'll share off with you, but it kind of follows down the same path that we went very early on talking about Bloodborne. And it is a game that's very, very close to my heart. But the game that I don't think will ever see a sequel for, I think it's a one and done, is Sekiro.
Yes. That's a very, very good one. Yeah.
Obviously, published by Activision, so not a From Software, outright title, and I think that's partly the reason why we won't see another one. It is very, it's very self-contained in the story that it tells. It does end in a way that you could obviously move on, depending on the ending that you get. You could move on to a Sekiro 2, but there are also points in it where it does end, and that's it. Like, that's the story that it tells.
Yeah.
And there's something really beautiful about that in terms of, a game that knows that it's done, and it's not going to take you on a loop of being like, you have to wait 5-6 more years for us to decide that we're going to make another one, and then another 10 for us to actually make it. But Sekiro would be it's dream. Sekiro 2 would be a dream for me, like growing up playing Tenchu and stuff like that. It's traversing around Ashina and going around all those areas on using the grappling hook, jumping about like an arsehole. Like, I platinumed that game and it took me forever to do it, but it's quite possibly the most enjoyable, hardest platinum that I've ever done, because it was just balls to the wall. You're parrying everything that comes at you, but you could run through that game in 4 hours if you wanted to. Like, if you knew exactly what you were doing, you could fire through it. But I don't see there ever being a Sekiro 2. I think that there'll be inspirations. I've always been surprised that Elden Ring never went down the path of like a Sekiro type style of gameplay. Not even changing the way that the whole game plays, but having like a weapon that, acts like Sekiro's sword. Do you know what I mean? But I don't ever see it. Yeah.
It's still quite obtuse for a lot of players though. Like, and you do have to play Sekiro for a while to understand it. I absolutely balk at it's a rhythm game things. So I'm like, it's not.
It damn well is. There's a fight in that game that is a rhythm game. Like, it is 100% a rhythm game.
Listen, as a drummer, I balk at it. Like, I have to. Like, I can't accept it, because you say that to me and it means a very different thing. And I'm like, there's no good music. I know what you mean. I'm like, it is something that can be.
There's rhythm to the mechanics of it. Like, some of the fights and stuff like that. You're do you know what I mean? Like, you're tapping it to a rhythm, but
it is a game that, like, once it clicks and you're in it, like, you will be in there. And it's a game that I've went back to time and again, but I need to dedicate the time to. You do have to practice it, but it's that feeling of power once you actually do get good effectively. But yeah, I think I'll add my last one here onto the list, and it's a pretty new addition, which is a game that just will never get a sequel, and it makes me very, very sad. It's probably the most recent one on the list.
Balatro.
Not Balatro. Believe you me, it doesn't need a sequel, but they will be pumping out a sequel to that sometime soon. There's money to be made. But for me, it is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. an absolutely fantastic game that came out of nowhere. The best Metroidvania in years from the series that was a Metroidvania before Metroidvanias. It's like it had. I keep saying it had no right being that good, but I don't think it sold well. And sadly, the development team behind it were sadly disbanded after that. And it means that all that talent, all that team is gone. It's not to say they can't resurrect it, but it is something that Ubisoft, they're not going to visit it anytime soon. And yeah, it makes it pains me.
It's one of those things where it's too easy a win. Like I've said this about a number of these. It's too easy. Do you know what I mean? Like it would make too much sense for them to say, like, let's make a sequel for a game that universally is enjoyed and loved. I mean, as Ubisoft, they're almost immune to success in terms of these things and making the correct decisions. Because God damn it, where the fuck is Splinter Cell, Liam? Where the fuck is it? I'm sick of hearing about it and it not coming. Move your ass.
I actually think
Jeff Grubb.
I think it's been so long since they announced it that they're just hoping that we all forgot it. Same with them. Was it Beyond Good and Evil? No.
Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil. Aye, Beyond Good and Evil too.
Yeah, and that's something that they did that big deep dive, and it's absolute vaporware, and it's like it doesn't exist. But I don't know. Who knows what's happening with them? But I mean, the main thing
I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it, Liam.
Let's take a stand.
I'm going to ask Jeff Grubb every single day for an update on what's happening with Splinter Cell.
One thing I look forward to, right, coming back to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, is this is a game I will definitely be introducing my son to as soon as I feel he is ready. It's like that is a game which will become almost a rite of passage, because I've tried them on like Switch Online with the likes of Super Metroid and stuff, and it's just too, I don't know, it's just not modern enough. It's not has those same sensibilities. It's okay for an old fat like myself to go back and play it because I understand. And I know it's like, oh, they were harder than my day, etc. And it's like, yeah, games were, but Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is so optimally smooth and perfectly executed in its gameplay design. It's one of those moments I'm thoroughly looking forward to down the line. I'm gonna be like, right, son, it's time. It's test time for him. I want you to go beat that, and you'll have a blast playing it. And it all just comes down to just how much you enjoy Metroidvania, I suppose, at the end of the day. But it is something that if you get a chance to play it, if you see it in a sale or anything like that, you owe it to yourself to just try it out and play it. It's fantastic, and doesn't take that long as well. And it does things with the Metroidvania formula that you're kind of expecting, and it doesn't do it, and it teases out in different ways. It's just absolutely fantastic. And I'll never forget last year, January, you're in the drought after Christmas, and you're thinking, I just want to buy and play something. And I took a punt on it, and I paid full whack for it. And I do not regret a single penny spent on it, because I was thinking to myself, what a fantastic experience. And I'm actually, something I need to go back and get the platinum on, because I was only a few trophies off it. But sadly, the sequel will never happen. Will never happen. And that uber talented team that made something so special are no longer together. But yeah, a couple other ones I'm not going to get into in detail here. Just a few almost like other shout outs I want to give out to games, because this is quite a fun exercise. I've got Days Gone. Obviously, the remake is just coming out. It might seem controversial, but I think it did deserve more, and it would have gotten more right with the second part. I've also got Psychonauts 2, just because it took so bloody long for Tim Schafer and that to make the second one in the first place. A total dream project, but I think Psychonauts 2 is such a special game, as was the first. Psychonauts 2 really does kind of show that it had the sauce. We need more of that. And finally, penultimately, Dishonored 2. We need Dishonored 3, Scott. We just need it to make me happy, to make my soul positive again. And the last
when you were saying that there, you're like Psychonauts 2, and I was like, that is a sequel. That is the sequel. Confused. And then when you said Dishonored 2 there, I was like, what? you fucking? Is there something wrong with you?
I see.
Now I understand. There's actually something wrong with me.
You got to read the
Yeah.
question. The last one I've got here, right, and this is my wild card, but I won't get into it. Was actually Flintlock Siege of Dawn, game that came out last year. I thought the story in that was class. The world building was amazing, and a sequel would be so good just to see how they would kind of build on that and improve the overall experience. It just will never happen. I just don't think it got the critical reception or the players it needed. But I would pop for that if they announced a sequel to it, because there was something there. That's what I enjoyed about it. There was definitely something there. It was just a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I think the only other game I had on my list was Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance.
Oh yeah, of course.
I want Revengeance. I want Revengeance too. Give me more riding and Mexican hats. But no, it's always good to see games that we enjoy and love, but sometimes sequels aren't necessary for them to be great. Do you know what I mean? Like games like Bloodborne, games like Sekiro, games like LA Noire, like they're good in their own right and sometimes don't need a sequel, but by God, do we not want it? It's one of those things with the Bloodborne sequel where, if you reach too far, it's like Icarus. Like the sun is Bloodborne 2 and my wings are going to get clipped reaching for it. So I just don't think, I never think it will live up to the hype and the excitement that does. But some games have, some games sequel are better than the original. Some would say
they would indeed, and that's a perfect segue, of course, into our next segment, which means that it's time for the Pixel Picks Showdown, where each week we each pick a game from our chosen theme and decide which one deserves to live on in the hallowed Pixel Picks list, which is a definitive list of the best games we recommend and pass on to the next generation of gamers. Now, last week's theme was underrated gem game, with Marvel's Midnight Suns becoming the latest addition to the list. And in this week's showdown, we're debating what best sequel game we think should feature on the Pixel Picks list. Now, as always, last week's winner goes last, which I believe is myself. I think I've got that right. And so, yes, Scott, you're up first this week. So let's get to it. What's your honourable mention and your pick, please, sir?
It's been a tough one this week, and it's not for the reason that you might think. It's trying to find games that are sequels that aren't already on the list.
Yes.
So it's very much been difficult down that route. And I thought long and hard about some of the games that could be on there. Uncharted 2 was definitely on the list. That was the first one that I thought of, but that was our best PS3 game. I also thought about Assassin's Creed 2, not on the list, but I couldn't make a case for it because I'm not versed with Assassin's Creed enough to make that case. So my honourable mention for this week is actually a game that it is a sequel, but it also has a remake, and it was a remake from last year. But my honourable mention for this week is actually Silent Hill 2.
Ah, yes, okay. Original or in fact,
the original, it doesn't matter. They're the same, they're the same thing. Silent Hill 2 does everything that Silent Hill 1 does, but better. The story of James and all the characters that you meet on the journey down is fucking incredible. It is life-changing for people. Like, people's entire personalities are actually now based around Silent Hill 2. And it would have been very easy for this to be my choice if I hadn't realised that this next game wasn't actually on the list. So, my choice for the best sequel for this week, and to be honest with you, Liam, this is just another reason to get another one on the list, but it's Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay.
And it is, honestly, as you grow up, you realise that Metal Gear Solid 2 is probably the best Metal Gear Solid game. In terms of the story that it tells, the themes, the memes, the characters, they're all fucking phenomenal. The one thing that, with a sequel is that sequels can sometimes just iterate on what you already know and love about it. And it's the same thing with Silent Hill, is that it didn't just iterate on what that original game was, it evolved what you already know about Metal Gear Solid. Now, some people would argue that the entire game is almost beat for beat the exact same as Metal Gear Solid, but that's the point.
Yeah.
You have you have you have you know you have all this sort of cast of characters. You've got Fat Man, you've got Fortune, you've got fucking Vamp licking people in the face. You've got Peter Stillman. You've obviously got Iroquois Pliskin. You've got Solid Snake finally shows up. You've got Raiden. But the real joy and the true hero of this game is Solidus.
Yeah.
Because it could have been very easy for Kojima just to go down the route of making a game that it has similar gameplay tropes, but like the tanker section of Metal Gear Solid 2, where you play a Solid Snake and go through the tanker, it's very much like Metal Gear Solid 1 in terms of the way that you play it. Metal Gear Solid 2 flips, when you go to the big shell, flips everything on its fucking head, and then you meet Solidus, and it's like, what is this bullshit? Why is there another one? Where the fuck have you come from? They're talking about Big Boss. Who the hell is that? Who are we talking about here? But it just creates this entire cast of characters that, it acts as a similar foil to the first game, but it just has everything more flashy and, more camp. And I think this is really Kojima and his element. And you've said this before, is that Kojima's second games are usually where he cooks. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is usually where he's figured out what he wants to do, and this is where he fucking, he puts, he flambés the game.
Yeah.
But the thing for me is that it's a big risk to take. Like, when we talk about sequels, like, it could have just made the exact same game all over again, just with a couple of differences, but it didn't. Like, it was this huge risk to make the whole game about Raiden and this whole story about Raiden, and it almost didn't pay off. But now we live in an age where this whole commentary about the whole meta commentary about control, digital identity and stuff like that, it's become almost like Kojima he's predicting the future in these games. Like, Death Stranding done it with COVID. Like, it's fucking outrageous how he's getting away with it. So, I just have a lot of love in my heart for Metal Gear Solid 2. It still looks great. It still plays great. And I will forever see this game remade. Forever. In my life, I'll quite happily play this every single year because it's just a joy to go through. And I just love it. Like, I love it. I probably love it more than I love the original Metal Gear Solid. And that's the reason why I think it's the best sequel of them all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a special. It's one that definitely gets better with age. Not that, but do not want to imply that it was ever disliked. I think it was the bait and switch of it all, but you can blame marketing for that. Because, and obviously that is a point. It's the shock and awe, and I do like the fact, if people had said, "It's just the same again," I don't think sequels should shy away from that. I think it is just like you said. It's about evolving it, and it's like, a sequel shouldn't just change everything for the sake of changing it. So it was a fun and playful way, and it's probably, out of most video games, it's one that definitely benefits with age. And like I said, it's almost prophetic looking back on it now. So yeah, great pick. Both of them are good picks. For me,
the fact it's not already on the list is outrageous as well.
Well, that's a similar approach that I had taken, and same methodology now, because I've got a lot on that list, and I have to check, because there was 1 week I thought, that's already on the list, I'll not pick it. I think it was Breath of the Wild. Turns out it wasn't on the list, and I could have picked it. So I had to double check, and I was convinced that my pick was on there, but it wasn't. But it did take me to my honourable mention, which I have to make the case for, which you thought about, but I can make the case, and that is, of course, for Assassin's Creed 2, which I feel like is almost the prototype for what to do with a sequel, in terms of you build on the promise of the original and take everything to the next level, you know, in terms of their gameplay, your story, your graphics, the full package. And Assassin's Creed 2, it was, if you take your mind back to playing the original Assassin's Creed, you knew there was something there, but it just wasn't getting executed in the way that you were expecting it to. And I remember walking away, like, the first Assassin's Creed is probably a great example of someone says to me, what's a 6 out of 10 game? It's the original Assassin's Creed, you know. The original trailers and the build up to it looks cool, and it seems so simple, but it's like, let's just kind of effectively go back in time and be a badass. That's what you're trying to pitch, and the idea of the social stealth and all the rest of it. But it lacked personality. It was so po-faced, very similar to another Ubisoft game that would come out years later in the form of Watch Dogs. And they did that. I would argue not to the same extent, but they took the same approach with Watch Dogs 2, which Assassin's Creed 2 injected the one thing that game needed so badly was personality. You know, when you've got Ezio the Auditore di Firenze there, and he is one of the best characters in the series, probably the best still. He got a trilogy, he was that good. And Scott's just smiling on camera at that pronunciation there. You know,
yes, it was almost it's perfect.
But yeah, it's, for me, Assassin's Creed 2, it really is. I remember playing that, thinking, right, okay, I'm in, let's go. I wouldn't say I was a diehard at the series at that point, but Assassin's Creed 2 is definitely the game that puts you on that path.
It got everyone, to be honest with you. Like, even me, I played Assassin's Creed 2. Do you know what I mean? I know I say I played it enough to know what happens in it, but I never finished. And in fact, I did finish Assassin's Creed 2. I can't remember much about it though, but it stands to this point why Ezio is so beloved though. Do you know what I mean? Like, people still love that character.
Yeah, I mean, they smashed it out of the park with it, and it was fun. Ultimately, that's what games are there to do. You know, the story was better and all the rest of it, but it was fun and it had stuff to do. It probably set Ubisoft on a course for maybe over injecting their maps, very small maps at the time, with too much stuff. But I still loved it. It wasn't a game I would like 100%, but I spent a lot of time. You know, when you as soon as you meet your Uncle Mario, you know what the tone that the game's going for. It's like, okay, right, we get this. Fantastic. But that's why it's my honourable mention this week, because we're talking about best sequels. For me, there's lots of ones that you could pick. You'll have your own reasons, really. But I had to be true to myself, and I had to also follow my same logic. Metal Gear Solid 2 was one that came out of my head. But I did have to really think about it and something. When you say best sequel game, because admittedly, Metal Gear Solid 2, I think, is not the best sequel in that series for me. And the best sequel's about to be remade this year, Scott. But for me, the best sequel game I've picked here is Mass Effect 2, which I was convinced that that's on the list. And I'm scrolling the list looking at this just now, convincing myself to, like, have I put my foot in it? Is Scott going to turn around and tell me it's on the list? But I put Mass Effect 2 down there, just purely logic and heart here. I feel like this is a perfectly executed on what a sequel should do. And I think, Scott showed me a piece of paper. He's also got this on his list as well. Okay, excellent. So, but again, we're all in agreement here. I think every game that we've mentioned here, we all know that these are good sequels. But Mass Effect 2, though, I mean, where do you start? First game, Mass Effect, was fantastic, but it still wasn't really hitting. It was a good 7 when we were playing it at the time. It was a good 7. It had the vibe of a Channel 5 sci-fi TV show, which, depending on, I don't know, I'll say Channel 4 sci-fi TV show, because it's like, if you're like a Babylon 5 diehard, Mass Effect, the original one, was like, oh, this is amazing. But Mass Effect 2 raised the stakes so well and discovered some personality and improved on the gameplay, fleshed out the world, the galaxy, some would say, and the characters with a much better and tighter story. And it goes on to become one of the greatest games of all time. Easy. I mean, Mass Effect 2, if it's not on the entrance here today, it's something that's in the chamber that one of us will pick again down the line. That's what's going to make this interesting. But you think back on it, the suicide mission, the elusive man, the opening to that game, everything, like it really does pull out all the stops to inject lots of pace and lots of purpose to what you're doing. And I remember at the time I was working in a call center in the town, and one of my friends was telling me, I'm going out my lunch break. Well, what are you going to get? So I'm going to get Mass Effect 2. And I was like, Mass Effect's pish. Were you just winding him up about it? He's like, no, you need to go play this. I was like, I'm aware of it, but again, it's not on my radar. I had gaming magazines. Whenever Mass Effect 2 came out, I'd flick past. So I'm like, tried Mass Effect, wasn't for me. Babylon 5 pish. And even though I'm saying it was a 7 out of 10, it still didn't vibe with me. It's like I wanted more. I didn't think it was capable. I took his advice. He grounded me down because it was payday. And I went and bought Mass Effect 2 on my lunch break. You know, it's like staggered lunches. So he got it first, I went second. And then I spent that weekend playing the absolute living shite out of this game. Because I was like, I don't believe this. Because it was like, it felt totally fresh, totally new. They nailed the vibe in a different way that felt cool. And the story that they're telling with the collectors, etc., it just gets you in. You know, it's something that I would probably say that I love in like the best comic book stories that I read out there, where you've got real stakes and you make a connection with these kind of off the wall characters, and you have to make a great effort to overcome this existential threat. And yeah, I think in terms of how you should do a sequel, Mass Effect 2 is like, that's how it's done. You know, that's how it's done. In terms of the best sequel game. And I suppose I've probably focused too much on what makes a sequel effectively, and why it's the best sequel game as opposed to anything else. But yeah, that's my pick this week, and it's not an easy one for us, Scott, because I think we could have picked anything, including the honourable mentions, to go on the list because all of them are worthy additions.
Everyone, they all deserve a place on the list. Let's just put them all on the list then.
4 entries this week.
Oh, it's a hard one because I don't share the same love for Mass Effect that you do. I mean, I've played them all, and played them all recently actually with the definitive collection or whatever it was.
Yep.
That came out. So I've played them all sort of fairly recently anyway, which was brilliant. And I think it's one that I'd like to go back to and actually enjoy again. Like
you should. Yeah.
I think I just played them to get through them, but I just can't see past Metal Gear Solid. I mean, it's not. This isn't me being, the Metal Gear Solid fanboy, because I could be that, and it could be unbearable for the next half hour. But I just think that to come off the back of Metal Gear Solid, like that first game, and how we still talk about it being industry changing even now. Like still talk about it in that high regard, and Metal Gear Solid 2 to come out with that, like, it's ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous. Now you can look at the same thing and say, well, how did it perform, and what is the fan feedback on it? But it's impossible. I don't know. I don't know how you make this decision, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, we form a conclusion with an agreement on the logic behind the decision, because it's like that. This is a tough pick, and it's not just a case of like what game's better, because we can't split them.
No.
I think if I look down to Metal Gear Solid 2, and you can't split it based on sales, you can't split it based on critical reception. It's like Metal Gear Solid 2 is an absolutely fantastic game that I think has only grown in appreciation through the years. And I'm like, right, I'll come back to Mass Effect 2. Same thing. Fantastic game. It has also grown in appreciation through the years. But then I also come down to the other thing, and I'll think about the likes of Mass Effect 3. And I'm like, everybody always looks at that thinking, it just ain't Mass Effect 2. Come back to Metal Gear Solid, and you find that I'd say more people love 3 than they do 2, because it just ain't Metal Gear Solid 2. And I do think Metal Gear Solid 2 is like let me see. If if I look at the Beatles, right, Metal Gear Solid 3 might be Sergeant Pepper. Metal Gear Solid 2, maybe like Rubber Soul. Or if you're asking me, it would be like Help, the connoisseur's choice. But or Revolver. I think it's really difficult. It's really, really difficult, this one. Which is tasty, because this is the whole point in phase 2 of the Pixel Picks Showdown, is that we're here to make the hard choices here, people, and that's what we're going to do. I think what splits it, and see if you agree with me or not, I think because of how it's aged, and I know it's an older game, so it technically has that advantage over it. I think because of how it's aged and the appreciation and just how ahead of its time it was, I think that's why I'd probably say Metal Gear Solid 2 will edge this one, because I think at the time, because all we can do is look back on the time, a lot of the stuff that Metal Gear Solid 2 was trying to achieve has went over a lot of people's heads because we're not in that moment. Now here we are, over 20 years removed, and we're finding it's actually that was way ahead of its time. And story and narrative is so crucial to Metal Gear Solid and the themes that it's trying to get across in a way that it's almost Simpsons-like, in the sense of how did they know that was going to happen.
100%.
And I think, I'm sure you will agree because it's your pick, but I think that's probably what will edge it, because I can't really, it's like splitting hairs.
It's splitting hairs, to be honest with you. I wish I had, prior experience of Mass Effect 2 recently. Do you know what I mean? So I could make a more cromulent argument for it. Because Mass Effect 2 in my head, it could be any one of those games. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't remember it in my own head what it's like, but well, to be honest with you,
we're in agreement then. So congratulations to Hideo Kojima and to Metal Gear Solid 2. You are the latest addition to the Pixel Picks list. I should also add as well that I can exclusively reveal that Scott and I will not be able to give you a preview of Death Stranding 2 because we're not invited to Kojima Productions, but I'm sure he's gutted because he was really waiting on this award this week.
The email was in our junk folder and we just never saw it. So
yeah. I mean, he knows this is, we've got to focus on this to give him these awards.
I'm also happy to tell the fans out there that is now Metal Gear Solid 2, original Metal Gear Solid, and Metal Gear Solid 4 on the Pixel Parents list.
Right now
of the top 5 of the top games. So all we need to do now is get 3 on there.
Now, how many? Hold on, so you've only got 2 Metal Gear Solid games on it. No, you've got 1.
I'll be 3.
4. Right. I think we need to introduce a new rule here live on the show. I think we have to say no more than 3 in the same series because we're doing the same with Zelda. Zelda's got the same.
How dare you?
No,
they're all so different though. They're all different. That's the thing. Like,
I
think you could get away with it, and it all comes down to the topic. Like, if it was, I think it's 3 Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4 are on there. I've not got 3 or 5.
Well, let's say 4 then.
Peace Walker.
We'll say 4 because it's not the worst offender. The worst offender in the list is Zelda. It's got 4 entrants in the list,
and it should. It should because they're also different. Like,
they are. I mean, let me tell you this. When you look at what we've got coming up in terms of games to pick from, it's going to get very tasty, and it's not going to be as simple. That's all I'm going to say. Scott. You will be doing some mental gymnastics to get any more from that series on there. But I look forward to the day to witness that happening live. But I think we should wrap things up there, Scott, because it's been a long one. I didn't actually think that when we started this podcast off. I was actually thinking this would be nice and short this week, but there you go. Another bumper episode of the Pixel Picks podcast. And that, of course, brings us to the end of this week's podcast. So thank you once again for joining us. And if you like what you hear and enjoyed the podcast, leave us a wee 5-star review. That helps us out and makes a massive difference. Scott, it is test time. Where can people find you online if they wish to follow you and talk to you about Metal Gear Solid in general?
If you want to come and come out with Metal Gear Solid facts, you'll find me on Blue Sky at llamaman.bsky.social. Shitting out stuff on there,
as he does. He's not joking. You can, of course, follow me online at Blue Sky. I'm at carmelite.bsky.social. A massive thank you to our producer and music man, the very talented and handsome Mr. Sean Murray. Please go show him some love. Check out his work on Instagram at barehandsdesigns and barehandsdesigns.com. Of course, you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms and follow us on Blue Sky at pixelparents.bsky.social. And of course, do what Colonels did. Write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening.
Solidus did nothing wrong.